Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there, welcome along. It is Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and business owners. And we've got an absolutely cracking show lined up for you today. It's going to be a real goodie. I promised you it last week. Ian Dixon joins me. You may have remembered if you were on the program or watching the show last week, we had Angus Grady on and Ian kept popping up. It was like the three of us were together as one. Ian, great to have you with us today. How are you keeping, mate?
Oh, tough, mate. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to sort that out today. Hopefully somebody will be able to help me. So, no, it's good. We were talking before we came on air. Listen, I'm just looking forward to being able just to share some upbeat positivity. And even for the vegans, we're not going to offer any spam at all. So I'm not selling anything.
A lot of people very confused at the moment, aren't they? There's a lot of people that are furloughed. There's a lot of people who, we were talking about this retrospectively, are looking back and saying, well, they should have done this, they should have done that, they haven't kept us informed. Yet there are people out there who are actually doing, if we're being honest about it, very nicely out this whole COVID-19 crisis, aren't there?
Yeah, I think, but that's, in all of life, that's no real change there. I think some will be accidentally will fall into, oh my God. So I've got a guy that I'm speaking to on Thursday, runs a security company, and it's fallen in his lap. My brother sells remote access software. He's smashing all his targets. And then there's people like me sat at home that's taken up crochet. So it's going to have positive. But the secret to this, of course, is how you deal with it. So I think that's the bottom line. You're going to get thrown stuff. It's how you deal with it, to be honest with you, which I'm sure we'll go through. But you've got to stay upbeat. I think that's the most important thing.
A little bit later on, we're going to be hearing from Michael Brook. Now, Michael Brook helps people do online courses. There's been an explosion in people doing online courses at the moment. They seem to be thinking that's the way forward. Maybe they're just filling their spare time at the moment, or at least they're trying to get around to all the things that they haven't had a chance to do before, and they've been dreaming about this. I mean, what's the one thing that during the course of the COVID-19 lockdown that you have done?
Oh my! What's the one thing? It's one of the messages is kind of a coachy question, is to actually physically write it down and have it in your workspace is a question to ask yourself. What did I do during the lockdown that I couldn't have done if I'd been working as normal? And to be honest with you, I've got a great long list of things that I've just never been able to get at. So for example, like I say, I'm not selling anything, but for 3 years, I've been trying to get at my YouTube channel. And I've just been smashing that. So there's been over 100 videos go up since we locked down. So there's one. I've connected with people that I've been trying to connect with. I can't begin to tell you how long. So that's another really powerful thing that I've done. There's a big long list, mate, to be honest with you. But I would and anybody that's watching, I'm sure, if we get to the other side and we go back to ultimately we're going to be normal. When we get there, don't go through the pain of regret of not having got hold or done something that you could have done. One of the things you've got me on one already, Steve, but one of the things that I get with business owners all the time is that they don't have time. So I'll say to them, let's do this, let's do that. How about this? And they say, well, when? How am I going to do that? You can't use time as an excuse right now. So get at some of those things. They don't have to be big monster things. Learn how to use Facebook AdWords or Google AdWords or Facebook advertising, or just use the time. So, I
must admit, what I'm doing is I'm using the time to learn a little bit more about Facebook. It's never been my strongest platform. And really discovering some amazing things about it. I can actually see the real benefits and the advantages. And maybe I've been missing out for years on the power of using Facebook to market, promote what we do. And of course, there's always been this thing in your head that one audience is sitting on LinkedIn and another audience is sitting on Facebook. And in fact, it's the same audience, but spread across two different platforms.
Yeah. So The bulk, I would agree with you. The bulk of your crossover is essentially the same fish you'll find in both pools. Interestingly, I think that the way, as the way I certainly do it, the way that I post content on those two platforms is often different. And I like to try and get a much broader spread across those two platforms so that there are more people going that way and more people going that way than the bulk of the people that are the same in the middle. So, and actually that's the same within Facebook itself. So I've got my Facebook sort of friends, as it's probably entitled, but then I've got groups. I certainly got a specific Facebook group, and I've got people in that group that I'm not even friends with. So, you've got crossover within the crossover too.
But it's just using it, isn't it? I mean, call it what you want to call it. It's interesting, by the way, if you are watching on Facebook today, please, if you want to ask Ian a question, if you just want to say, well, good morning, you can do that. Ian, very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Ian, an old friend and a very, very talented PR and press guy. So he knows his onions. So Ian, great to have you with us on the programme today. If you've got a message or anything like that, please don't hesitate. Go onto Facebook and you can drop us a message if you want to. You can also go onto YouTube. You can also go onto LinkedIn. We're all across all the platforms like a rash. Now, listen, we're talking about business from the bunker. Yes. Because that's the way a lot of us are feeling at the moment. If there was one piece of advice, if they heard nothing else today, if you heard nothing else today, what would be that piece of advice, do you think, that you would give somebody that's listening to the program today?
Right. So a good one, which I wouldn't say if we weren't in this situation. So, because there are a lot of things, of course, that you should be doing whether you're in a bunker or not. But this one doesn't apply if we're not in the bunker, really. So, and the piece of advice is to find 10 people. And these 10 people are important to you and your business when we go back to work. Because I promise you, it's going to be mad busy. People not only have lots of money sat at home, but they have more money, even furloughed, than they had when they were working normally, because their outgoings. My car does 3 months to the gallon at the moment. So there are people with lots of money. Right. So you need to find these 10 people that are important to the other side. 5 of those people, get in touch with them, either ring them, email them, whatever, but contact those 5 people and tell them how important they are to you and your business, the other side. And you want to collaborate and communicate and stay in touch with them to help support them so that when we get to the other side, they are as strong as you are, because you're going to need each other. Okay, so tell those 5 people, make them feel important. The other 5 people are very similar to the first 5 people, but you don't tell them. The reason why you don't tell them is because you basically want to start loading their emotional bank with shares, likes, comments, introductions. Basically keep buttering them up, because when we get to the other side and you're struggling financially, or if you're struggling financially and you need to tap them up for a favor, if over the course of our lockdown you've loaded their emotional bank, you're far more likely to get a positive response from them when you go with your cap in your hand to ask them for a favour, a connection, or some kind of support in any kind of business activity that you're undertaking. So
that's quite a cynical approach, actually, though, isn't it? What you're doing there, it's quite manipulative, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So,
all right. Big thumbs up to be manipulative then.
Yeah. So my ex-partner used to call it manipulation. I call it influence. You're trying to influence the outcome of something. So, and ultimately nobody gets hurt. On the contrary, you're doing a good thing. So children do it all day long. They'll go out and wash the car and come in and ask if they can stay out late. So we all are open to the emotional bank concept. And so I was just thinking of ways, what could who would be my 10 people? Do I want to tell them all that they're important to me? Are there people that I might want to tap up? For example, I might need to go to a web developer and ask him for a change or an update that I'm not smart enough to be able to do. And if I want to be able to get that done for a reduced cost or for nothing, and I've been loading his emotional bank for 3 months, so he's far more likely to do it for me. So on mates rates.
Do you think, have you seen a lot of people actually using the circumstances that we're in at the moment to nearly use it as emotional blackmail to get things, as you were saying then, to get things done for free? You're not really working at the moment, blah, blah, blah. Have you seen that with some of the businesses that you're dealing with?
Not so much, fortunately. If it's been going on, I've not really seen it. I think you've got your classic mourners, people that are grieving, and they're in what I call victim mode. And again, there's another big story there. To be honest with you, it is pointless trying to offer any kind of time or activity on any activity that you have no control over. So I can't control the virus or the lockdown or whether or not clients are paying or any of those things. But there is a gazillion things that I can do, that I can influence and have an impact on, that changes the outcome. So, for example, we talked about my working on YouTube recently. That is going to have a positive impact on me the other side. So, but to come back to your question, I've not seen a lot of it, Steve, to be honest with you, where people have been. I've seen a lot of the negativity, but the victims, but I've not seen so much of the people being cynical or playing on it, if you like. So. I don't know about you.
No, to be honest with you, no. I mean, we've found ourselves in a situation actually where we've never been so busy actually, and properly busy, which has been fantastic because I suppose some of the services that we provide are the kind of services that people actually need within the circumstance that we're in at the moment. Well, yeah, not trying to cut the conversation short because that's not what I'm going to do, but how do you see the other end of this coming out? Say you've got those 5 people that you've told that that you like them very much, and the other 5 that you've buttered up. What do you think will be the outcome at the other side? Do you really do think there's going to be a pot of money at the end of the rainbow? Are we all going to be okay? Is it going to be this V-shaped recovery, or will it be a W-shaped recovery or a U-shaped recovery? What's your opinion on that?
Right. So opinion's definitely the right word. I think the short answer is nobody has a clue. Like, genuinely, I don't think anybody truly knows. I was talking to a guy last week. I said to him, we're in unprecedented times. And he said, no, we're not. We've been in situations like this before. The circumstances are different. And as human beings, we've evolved and adapted, and obviously things we have available to us now, but it's not unprecedented. But I still truly believe that nobody can tell you how it's going to be. And so if there is no real positive answer to that question, why choose a negative outcome? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Actually work towards, and actually everybody has a responsibility to talk it up, work towards a positive outcome and be assumptive that the outcome is going to be amazing. And why not? Why shouldn't it be? I know for a fact people are sat at home right now better off than they were when we were back working. Whether they run their own businesses or they're sat at home furloughed, they will have money to spend. I know that for a fact. So, of course, there are people that are struggling, and certainly in some of our European countries that are very cash-driven economies that are busted. And, I've seen some of the challenges those people have got, but not in this country, no. So I'm just one for bigging up the positivity because we don't actually know. So my opinion is, I don't know that I've got an opinion other than I'm driving towards a positive outcome.
Which is good. Listen, I've got some of the points that we're going to be talking about. We've kind of covered some of them already a wee bit. Things that we can do today whilst we're in lockdown. You've already made a suggestion on that. So there's obviously going to be other things that we can do as well. So we're looking forward to hearing that. This is an interesting one because we always get all our guests to do show notes before they come on the program. And why customers and prospects should be 5th on your list of concerns. That's a frightening one.
I quite like that when I wrote that down.
What does it mean, though? What does it mean? And why we should stop selling is the other one. So it's nearly like it's an anti-list that you've put here. Why should we stop selling? Remote team management tips, how to market in a recession. You've kind of touched on, but we'll come back to it. And what to expect when recovery comes. We're kind of talking about that as well at the moment. But, I mean, it's going to be an interesting hour. What's going to be the first topic we're going to talk about? We're going to see Angus in a moment, but should we go for that? Why customers and prospects should be the 5th on your list of concerns?
Yeah, let's get that one in early in case we lose our viewer. So
there are thousands of people watching even as we speak, so don't knock it. All right,
yeah,
then.
we'll get it in early.
All right, I'll let you have another swig of coffee then, and we'll come back to you in just a few moments. All right, then. My guest today is Ian Dixon. Hope you're enjoying today's program. Fantastic show, and business that you can do from the bunker is what we're talking about today. Don't forget, if you have a question or anything like that, or you just want to say hi, you can go onto Facebook, you can go onto YouTube, you can go onto LinkedIn, and you can leave a comment and a reaction there if you wish. All right, let's go back a week then, shall we? Last week's show was just a delight. He is the guru, in my opinion, of LinkedIn. His name is Angus Grady. He is the LinkedIn Unlocker. Fantastic show. Lots of response after that particular program. Angus is just good to talk to, actually. He's a kind of a sensible bloke. He's been there, he's done that, and he's got some really terrific, inspiring ideas. A bit like this week's guest as well, like Ian. So a really fantastic show last week. If you did miss it, then go to our website at businessconnectionslive.com. But just to give you some of the key takeaways and some of the key comments that Angus came up with, here's Angus Grady from last week's edition of Business Connections Live.
My name's Angus Grady. I'm the LinkedIn Unlocker, and I work with businesses to magnetize their profile so that they attract the best and repel the rest, which means that they get increased connections, increased traffic onto their LinkedIn, which converts into sales and then adds to, and then they become repeat customers. I think the thing that we forget is that the crisis that we're in now, it's about GDPR, growing deeper personal relationships. And we've got to plan for that. We've got to have a profile that actually is about positioning what we do and how we do it and the problems that we solve. This isn't about talking about me as a person. It is about how I can help prospects. I don't have all of the answers. I've got some of the answers. And the point of what I'm trying to get over here today is that you need to do an audit of your profile right now. You need to think about what it is that you're saying, what your keywords are, what do people remember you for, what is it that your skills, as I said before, skills become, they actually become keywords that then become hashtags that you can then use throughout your profile. Keep this profile congruent with all of your other profiles as well. Say the same here in terms of what you do and what you're seeking to achieve as you do on other profiles. So your Twitter account, your business page on like your Facebook page as well. So keep it all together. Prospecting now is what it's all about as well, and it's about personalizing that prospecting process. Lots of P's, I know, but it works so well. You know, prospecting is simple if you do it. People make it difficult for themselves because they think they've got to be overly clever. Be yourself. Say what it is that you do. I mean, one quick prospecting tip that I hadn't jumped in was put your phone number, mine's 01442, into the search bar and hit return. Select people. You'll be amazed how many people have your phone number, you know, your 01442, all those people that are on your doorstep. Think local before you start thinking global, okay? And call them and they say, how did you get my phone number? You gave it to me. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. It's in your profile. Start the conversation. And I think the easiest way to do that is by personalizing everything that you do. So that's in terms of like your message requests, your sort of connection requests, and how you respond to those connection requests as well is really important. But use messaging. There's nothing wrong with direct messaging somebody as long as you're not saying buy my widgets. You know, if you're giving something of value, then I'm sure that people then will respond to you. Use the audio more, use the video more, good old-fashioned postcards, the telephone, all of those things, the forgotten things, the analog aspects. Use those as well. And so if anyone would like to connect with me that isn't already connected with me, then I'd be delighted to sort of connect and also chat. And again, if there's any kind of questions you need answering, then please do ask as well. If anyone would like to actually talk about LinkedIn surgery, 90 minutes over Zoom, triage call, LinkedIn surgery, and a couple of outpatients calls, all for the huge sum. I'll talk about it when we actually talk directly. And don't forget, I've got my pivoting course at 27.77. I haven't.
Is that your lot?
That's my lot, sir.
A round of applause, please. Thank you. Angus Grady there on last week's edition of Business Connections Live. My thanks for Angus. In fact, while I was just watching that, he's been on LinkedIn. All sorts of comments from him. He's saying, well, he said morning, obviously. Positive outcomes to this is the only way. And one that made both Ian and myself laugh, no selling by yelling. And he's very, very right. Listen, if you'd like to be on the program, it's that easy to do that. If you think this is a really good idea, you'd like to share your thoughts, particularly while we're going through lockdown. Who knows how much longer this is going to go on for. All you got to do is get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live. It's that easy to do. You can go to studio@businessconnectionslive.com, or if you wish, you can pick the phone up and give us a call still on 01784 256 777. And you can follow our stream of consciousness at BCL Business TV. We also remind you of some of the old programs on Twitter as well on a regular basis. 3 or 4 times a day, you'll get an update on one of the different shows that we did recently. We're on 200. What are we, 296, something like that at the moment. It's a ridiculous number that we've done of these programs, and all of them are really great advice. The best place to go, though, for over 400 hours of great business advice is, of course, our website at businessconnectionslive.com. Just go along to the website, have a look there, peruse through all the different bits of information. It's been interesting. A lot of people have been saying to me, what exactly do you do at Business Connections Live? It's easy. We do this business program. This is the first thing that we do. The second thing that we do is that we are a corporate video production company and also audio production company. So if you're into employee comms or you've got messages that you want to get out to your workforce, we're the people that you come and talk to. We've worked for large multinational blue chip companies. We also, if you're a speaker or you're a presenter and you're looking for a show reel, then we can help you out there. You can come to the studio when this is all finished, and we'll film you, we'll work through how to create a fantastic show reel for you. And if you're just thinking to yourself, you're a small business, you just need a green screen studio to go to, then we do green screen studio hire as well. So it's the full gambit of bits and pieces that we can do for you. So just get in touch with us at Business Connections Live, and then the rest will be history, and we'll have a loving, warm relationship between the pair of us over the coming months. My guest on today's show is this bloke. His name is Ian Dixon. Ian, it's great to have you with us on the show today. He's an international business speaker and multi-award winning business coach. And that's what he told me to say. Fiver is in the post. Thank you very much indeed. We were going to go down the route, weren't we? We were going to say why customers and prospects should be fifth on your list of concerns.
Yeah.
You're fifth on your list of concern? Fifth after what?
Right. So I'm going to name drop a fabulous, I don't know if you know him actually, Steve, Jeffrey Gitomer. I was speaking in Los Angeles about 10 years ago, and he was one of the other speakers. And I don't really follow many salespeople. But he's almost a sales god, I would say, a sales guru, especially in the States. And I belly laughed for the whole time he was on stage. And some of what I'm about to share are unashamedly stealing away from Jeffrey Gitomer. But it is I just don't want to say that it's mine. It's actually a really important message. So. And actually almost feels a little bit clickbaity. Why would your customers be fifth on your list? Right. But it'll all make complete sense.
Are you actually going to get to the point then?
Yeah. I know we've only got 3 hours. So,
here it comes. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by.
There's too many coffees. Right. So here's the thing. Every single time you get on an aeroplane, the air hostess will explain to you that if the oxygen mask drops down, you need to put that mask on you first. You're the first person and the most important person that you should be responsible for every single day. So when you get up first thing in the morning, the first person that you should be thinking about before your customers, the very first person is yourself. So how equipped, how well do you feel? Consciously check in with yourself, both from an emotional level and at a fitness level, especially while we're locked down. So, but I mean, it is viable all the time. The second person then, of course, is your immediate support, which is your family and your friends, close friends. And when you check in with these people, don't ask once at the moment, ask twice. So ask at least twice to make sure that they are truly okay. So The third person that you need to be thinking about before your customers and prospects then is your business network. So your business associates, your accountant, your solicitors, your B2B support, your business networking community. Check in on some of those and just get some kind of general sense of how happy or sad they are and whether they're okay. And then the fourth, before we get to your customers, is to see your business as an entity and to check in with your business systems, process, web presence, social media presence. Is everything as it should be? Is it broken? Does it need fixing? Is it outdated? And then fifth on the list is to get to your prospects and your customers. Now, if nothing else, if you wrote down what those 5 things, 1 to 5 at the start of each day, and all you needed to do was tick, just consciously to go through, have I checked in with myself? Have I checked in with my family? Have I checked in with my network? Have I checked in on my business? Right. What marketing? What prospecting? Which customers do I need to check in on? That's the core of how it works. It's just a very methodical. Otherwise, we're all over the place. So,
it's very interesting you say that, because there's a guy called Chris Cardell who's done internet marketing for 1,000 years. A lot of people may have received an email from him and done nothing about it. But I was listening to something that he put out there, and he was sort of saying, that your customers, now is a good time just to send them an email and go, how are you? How are you doing? Yeah. It's not about selling. It's just about, I suppose, being personal, isn't it? It's about being nice to other people.
Yeah. Just as I did a video the other week about the fact that we are at different stages of the classic 5 steps of the grieving process, and everybody, doesn't matter whether you're being paid more money to be at home or you're actually one of the key workers out there, everybody is grieving or going through the grieving process in some way, shape or form. And I've felt it, I'm sure you have, and I'm sure our listener has felt it too. Oh my God, the boss is in. So we need to be especially conscious of our internal conversations that we're having ourselves, because we will be going through different stages of the grieving process. So, yeah, I think it's just a good time to formalise that, those 5 kind of people. Who do I need to be helping before I start helping customers? So.
I don't think there's any harm at all in actually any of us remembering that we are human beings, and life is still to be humorous, is still to be laughed at. I mean, a very good friend of mine, will you play a request, please? I mean, he's just having a laugh now, isn't he? Hey, you soppy so-and-so.
Is that a bot? Have you got bots running?
No, that's real. He's a real. That's Gordon. That's our normal director. I use the term loosely. That's our Gordon. Yeah,
from the studio.
From the studio. Yeah. So that's Gordon. So sure. Gordon's watching. We're furloughed. If only we just told him not to come in. And so we're. I'm DIY here. I'm doing it all myself. So
God bless Gordon. He's always a smiley face when I come into the studio.
He's always a smiley face. That's one description I've never heard of him. Okay, let's look at the next question that we've got on our list here at the moment. Why should you stop selling? What's that all about then? Stop selling in this time. Really, shouldn't you be turning the volume up just a teeny weeny bit?
So again, it's a little bit clickbaity, I guess. But actually, that's the whole thing here, is about not clickbaiting. So for me, and we will have all seen it on our social feeds, where there's been this massive upturn in people trying to, or certainly some of it, there's a sense of desperation, like, I need you to buy my stuff. And the strange thing is, if you could imagine it being like a football stadium, when it starts getting noisy and you're trying to talk to the person next to you, which essentially is your customer, when everybody's doing that, we're all turning the volume up and turning the volume up and turning the volume up, and it's killing me. I don't know about you. So now the important message here is that all the business people like me will tell you, it's critical that you continue to market. Like, it's been proven through recession after recession, those that continue to market are in the strongest position the other side. And it is one of those things that's seen as an expense on the credit sheet. And so we tend to, certainly some of the other bigger businesses will turn that off. And actually what you should be doing is making sure that you keep that going. Like, it's critical that you do. Right. So this key message around stopping selling but continuing to market is finding ways to, I call this Trojan horsing. So is finding ways to continue to market, but without like overtly selling what it is that you're offering, because I promise you, both you and I have got our hands in our pockets right now holding on to our money. Another thing that you'll hear us all say is, cash flow is, you've really got to keep hold of your cash and work out where it needs to be spent. And so we're not spending money on stuff at the moment, but you need to market. So how can you do that? The best way you can do that is to market by offering help and support for nothing, is to give information away, FAQs, how-tos, 10 tips on. So you are Trojan horsing, your marketing, your brand is being presented and represented, but you're not basically selling your product or services. What you're doing is maintaining a presence in the marketplace. And I promise you, the sales will show up when people start taking their wallets out, as long as you are there marketing consistently through the process.
As long as you're reminding people that you're there. This is interesting. This is the boss again has been saying here. She says, all of us human beings, everyone needs to remember that no matter what, we're all going through tough times and emotions right now. And she's right. But and I suppose that connection that we have with future clients and future customers is going to be helpful as well. I mentioned multitasking earlier on. Ian came back. He was very impressed that I can multitask, but then he came back after that, and this is the real crux of it. He said, "But seriously, everyone is learning how to multitask right now," and I suppose they're just some of the skills that we're all learning. Remote team. I'm just having a look to see what Angus has been, because Angus is on LinkedIn at the moment. He's talking about GDPR generating desperate pivoting rubbish. There is a danger of that, though, actually, isn't there? There is a danger that what some people will be doing is they won't be focused enough on what they are generating. And in fact, they'll be sticking out any old rubbish just to raise their profile. What's your thoughts on that?
Again, this is I did a video on this, I think about 2 weeks ago now, where I used the analogy of being you're just about to run a marathon. And we've been locked down, and you're hearing what we're saying and saying, you need to market. And we're in this corral ready for the gun to go off, and the gun's gone off, and everybody comes flooding out of that corral, and they want to run at the pace of the fastest runners. So basically they're seeing all this marketing popping, and so they're turning the wick up and just pushing any kind of content out to maintain pace with everybody else. Like, I'm seeing all these videos go up. I need to be doing lots of videos. And the core message here, the takeaway is, whatever you were doing before from a volume perspective is to retain that level of consistency and quality, not the quantity. You don't need to turn up the quantity unless you weren't doing it before. Just retain. So if you trained, this is why the marathon analogy is such a good one. If you trained for 9 months to run a marathon and the gun goes off and you get pulled out by all these other runners, you won't get to the other side. And this is definitely a marathon scenario that we're in. So run at your pace, but be consistent with the quantity and the quality of what you put out. Don't get pulled into this desire to want to try and keep up with what other people are doing. They may have the funds, they may have trained for that pace, and are happy to run at that pace. So, yeah, it's a really interesting thing that you say. You see a lot of junk being posted up where people are just trying to keep up pace with the noise, and actually, if they just were to retain their normal pace and quality, all you've got to change is the message. The core message should be more around how you can help and support, rather than what it is that you can sell. So I love the fact that we're all learning now. Yeah, so we're all learning. Those that had never really ventured online, it's a massive learning. And
Angus is agreeing with you here as well, which is good. Exactly. Don't dilute your core brand by offering something that takes away from what you do. And I think that's a very dangerous thing. Yeah, that's really wise words indeed. Thank you, Angus, for that. By the way, I don't know whether you saw that, but the other half came on and she said, "I'm so not the boss," she said.
I don't even know what relevance that has. But
it's got no relevance whatsoever, but it's just telling you how she feels. Okay, so there you go. Remote teams is always an issue, managing remote teams, how you keep them motivated, particularly as we're still trying to do business. I mean, there are a lot of people out there at the moment who aren't furloughed, but they are working from home. How do you manage those remote teams? How do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them on the straight and narrow so that what they're doing for you actually is what they need to be doing for the business?
It's ironic. So I did a 2-day speaking thing in Auckland, New Zealand, and Melbourne in December last year on how to get the best out of your remote teams.
Name dropper. Sorry? You're just name dropping where you've been now. And
yeah. Well, only because I was supposed to be there now. So because they asked me to go back and do it to rerun it. And of course, we got locked down. So that's being converted to an online course for them at the moment. So, but it's kind of ironic. Before we got locked down, there was a recognition that more and more people are working remotely. And as a leader, as a manager, how do you get the best out of these people? So some simple things, really, some of which are almost almost brow slappers, is that fundamentally you shouldn't be treating these people wholly different to how you would treat them in the workplace. You should always work on their output, not on the hours that they put in. So, and again, when you've got them in a place where you can watch over them, it's very easy to understand whether or not they're getting it done in the time that they've been allotted. So I think some of the boundaries that you have to let go of when people are working from home, unless they have to be around at certain hours, all you need to get done is whatever needs to be done. So as long as they're getting that work done, the biggest one for me is the morale. So is getting and keeping people up and motivated so that they want to come to their desks at home and deliver that the work that needs to be done. And there's lots of little ways in which you can do that. So, and for example, setting up what I would almost call water bottle environments. So WhatsApp groups, FaceTimes, my wife, I think there's sort of 18, 20 of them in her business. They've done offline quizzes in an evening and all sorts of things just to keep people boosted and upbeat, anything, and measure. Another really important part, I'm just trying to think about some of the content over those 2 days, is to check in with people and measure on a scale of 1 to 10. A big key element is how motivated are they and how upbeat are they? Because when they're in the workplace, you can get a sense of it, but when they're down a telephone line, it's not always easy to do. It's much easier to keep people upbeat and positive than it is to try and fix the problem once they start spiraling down and their heads drop and they're not doing what needs to be done. I think another really important message here is to recognize that this isn't just about working from home. This is about making habit changes, like massive habit changes, like working in a completely different way. You've got your kids running backwards and forwards behind you in the background. I think we've all seen that famous BBC or Sky interview with some foreign diplomat sat in a room and the baby's being pulled out of the on his hands and knees. Yes. So yeah, those kind of things. Anyway.
It's interesting because I think one of the problems that a lot of employers have or have had prior to this, there is an element of trust that seems to be not there. They unless you can see when somebody logs on and the work that they're actually doing, there is this kind of feeling that, will they actually do the work or will they just take me for a ride when they're sitting at home working in their home office? I mean, my son-in-law, he's done nothing but work from home. He's got a full office set up. He works for a financial institution, and it's very impressive because he really does have to get on with work because it's well structured, the work that he does. He's also well targeted as well, and I think that's what makes a big difference for him. He knows what the structure of the day is.
I think those people that struggle with self-accountability, and we all struggle with it to a certain degree, and as a leader or as a boss of a team, you've got to know that everybody is that how they're wired is different. So some people, you just know that they're going to be ending up getting up at 5 a.m. and getting done by 11, and they're going to go off and do whatever they're going to do. And those that, if you just leave them, they'll stay in bed all morning and then they'll panic and then they won't get it done. So you've got to work out which ones need the help and support. Let go of some stuff that you cannot control. You cannot force somebody down a telephone line to do certain things. So you can only work with what you can work with. So things like morale, motivation, putting some structure in place for those that are struggling, and checking in on a more regular basis and create an environment where socially they can connect. Like I say, things like these offline quizzes or even stuff during the day. One of the things that I've recommended from a marketing perspective is if you're sat in your back bedroom doing your marketing and you're struggling from a motivation perspective, just get somebody in your ear and just sit and chat on WhatsApp as if you were sat in a kind of office environment, and just while you're sat there doing whatever it is that you're doing from a marketing perspective, you've got somebody there with you. So I think it's just recognizing this is about human beings, not necessarily so much about the business aspect of it. So,
it's interesting here. Linda Bazan's come through. She said, look after your people and your people will look after you. So it's a two-way process.
Yeah.
We've seen that with some of the organizations that we're working with at the moment, and fantastic leaders in place. And those leaders are motivating their teams who feel that they don't want to let their bosses down, because that's the way they feel about it. They feel a real responsibility towards the organization. She's also said as well, about time that we trusted people to work from home after lockdown. It enables them to work flexibly and probably get more done, thus contributing to the bottom line of businesses. So a little bit of trust actually would be a big help. She's typing something else. I can't wait to see what it's going to be. It'll be along in just a moment. What about these people that are doing all the home training courses that they're doing, the online training? What's your thoughts around that? Be positive about this, because I've got Michael Brook next.
Well, I mean, I'm in the middle of doing that now for myself anyway. Well, not for me, but for these companies that ask me to get on aeroplanes and go and do talks all over the planet. They're asking me to do these things online for them now. Here's the thing. I think that if we were to work the classic 80-20 principle, I think 80% of those that would have come and sat in a room for 2 days will be completely comfortable sitting in a box, as long as the presentation is adapted to be delivered. I feel certainly personally, I feel a little bit compromised trying to talk into a camera than I am if I can spend 2 days with somebody in a room. So because of the two-way element, I can scan and see stuff that I wouldn't ordinarily see in a presentation. So it becomes a bit more what I would call training rather than presenting. But that should not detract from it. I think it leads me neatly into another area, which is to be incredibly careful about what you end up in front of.
All right. In that case, then hold that thought.
Yeah.
Hold that thought for a moment, because we're going to get some key takeaways. If you are one of these people that are sitting at home at the moment and you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to put together a training course because I've always wanted to do that. I see that as a way of creating passive income. There is no such thing as passive income. Trust me, you will work very hard to put together a course that is going to make you money. But if you're prepared to put the time into it, then away you go. But you may need some expert advice, and some expert advice would come from Michael Brook. Michael has been helping people put together online training courses for diddly-bomp years, for donkey's years. He's very experienced. He knows what works and he knows what doesn't work. We had him on the program a little while back, and I asked him just to give us the key takeaways from the program. So this may help you if you are currently putting together a computer-based training package that you'd like to sell and to generate, in inverted commas, some passive income in the future.
It's Michael Brook from My Expertise Online. I'm an expert product creator. I help people to create, market and sell their own online courses that they can do from their own know-how, their own experience and their own expertise. Some simple takeaways here are, first of all, check your mindset. Is it the mindset that's holding you back? Is that the reason why you've not done this thus far? It could be the fact that you're overwhelmed and therefore you're procrastinating. Make sure that you get the concept right. Think about your biggest why, your strongest reason why. Who are the people, who are the audience, and what are their biggest pains? And then when a lot of courses fail is because it's not structured properly. It needs to be structured and it needs to be sticky. People need to be able to retain that information. And the last takeaway I would urge people to do is to market their course properly and professionally. It doesn't need to be expensive, it doesn't need to be big Facebook ads or an AdWords thing, but it does need to be thorough. And that would be my key takeaways.
There we go. The fabulous Michael Brook there, giving some advice if you're putting together a online training course at the moment. Very interesting, Ian, there, that he comes back and he says that it's all about marketing your brand, your product, professionally, because I think a lot of us think that if we do an online training course, what will happen is that all of a sudden they will come beating a path to our door like the mousetrap, and that we'll all be millionaires, Rodney.
I wish, if only that be true. So my take on this is like I talked about the football stadium. It's certainly on the social feeds. It's a bit like, and actually Google. So it's a bit like being in a football stadium with 120,000 people. To give you some perspective, 120,000 people, and you're shouting out at the top of your voice, "Buy my stuff," and everybody else is doing exactly the same. So if you can imagine that just for a second, then that puts into perspective just how hard it is to get people to buy your stuff. And so then what Michael's talking about there is the more professional and the more the better that looks and the better it sounds, the more likely it is that somebody's going to stop and listen 2 or 3 rows away. The likelihood of you getting somebody the other side of the stadium is going to be an interesting one, but you stand a much better chance if you take the time out to make sure that whatever it is that you're saying is done in a much more professional way. So here's the line that I use, is that everything that is outward facing should reflect its potential return. Everything that is outward facing should reflect its potential return. So and that's the key. You should always be testing yourself. Does this reflect what I could be getting back? So sitting in front of a £40 webcam and a hooky copy of whatever it is that you're using for software, and then broadcasting that and then crossing your fingers isn't really going to cut it.
Another interesting comment has come through. Chris Frampton, he says, I think the problem is getting your wife to understand, this is a very interesting one, getting your wife to understand that working from home is simply working now from home, which is a very good, because it's changed the dynamic, hasn't it, the way we're all working from home at the moment. And that dynamic is very, very different. And I think there have been sort of problems in some households where people just don't understand that. They think it's an extended holiday. And maybe that's why they've stopped doing the online marketing, why they've stopped doing the telephone calls, the social media, and all those kind of things. So what kind of marketing do you think we should be doing in what is this enforced recession then?
Right. So lead me is just, you've been doing this a while, haven't you? You've just led me in perfectly. Again,
absolutely.
so just a great feed.
It's what I do. It's what I do.
So whether you are B2B or B2C, whether you were able to or have previously sold products online or not, you need to be putting marketing information out now that can be used online. So, for example, we have a local gardening centre here, and they basically just took photographs of plants and posted them up on their website. They said how much the plant was, and if you get to a certain order value, they will put them in a box and deliver them to your home. So that
is so refreshing. What a great idea.
Just brilliant. Honestly, it's just, and there's lots of examples of that.
But you know, I live opposite a garden centre. There's a garden centre just a stone's throw from here, and they have been shut since the beginning of this, and they have been destroying plants. And I think that's such a shame. So that's kind of a perfect example of somebody that traditionally wouldn't have necessarily used an online platform to sell their stuff. They would rely on people to turn up on a Saturday and Sunday to have a walk around and see things that they wanted to buy. Well, they're basically bringing that vision to your screen. So that's a perfect example of it. So create content that you can share online, and then work out what's your best route to market online. For some people, it will be straight out their website and get some Google stuff done. But nowadays, there are so many, I call them business centers. There are so many business centers that work around our other social platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn. I've got people that are incredibly successful on Instagram. I coach a couple that make bucket loads of money purely on Instagram. So don't discount it as an opportunity, but it's whatever works best for you. And then the last piece of this message really is, don't work out what people need in 12 months, 18 months time. You need to be putting out content and information of things that people need today, because nobody even knows where we're going to be at the end of May, the end of June, the end of July, whether we're still going to be sat here or whether we're going to be queuing up to spend all this money down at the gardening centre. So we don't really know. So create content you can share online,
find your perfect hub and center to sell or to market that product or service, and then find out what, or make sure that the messages is what people need today.
So then, here's a question for you. What do you expect when all this finishes? Where will we be? It's where we kind of started the conversation at the very beginning, isn't it? But, you know, when we come out of this, what kind of landscape is going to be out there? What kind of businesses will succeed, and which ones do you think will fail?
Right, so there's a plethora of questions there. So the first thing I would say to you is, to quote Warren Buffett, when the tide goes out, we find out who's been swimming naked. And then I've tagged on the end of that, when the tide comes back in again, we'll find out who's got their surfboards ready. So now, obviously what he was referring to was the global recession in 2008, where people just basically weren't prepared financially for the recession. The money slipped away, and we find out who was ready for that. And of course, the ones that survived were the ones that had got their act together and got their SH1T in order. And the recovery from this. And there's some key messages coming out, because I genuinely do not know when this recovery is going to come. But when it does, and we start to see that wave come, the most important message is to make sure that you're in the water when the wave hits, not getting in your car and going down and buying a surfboard. You have to be in there ready to go. Now, what does that look like in a real sense? In many respects, it's what we've been talking about, is to keep that marketing message going, being seen as somebody that's offering help. You do as much damage by not being noisy as you do by being noisy, probably more. People will recognize and remember those that were supportive and helpful through this, and those that went all quiet. You may have seen it already, Steve. I've certainly seen some people in my network. I don't know whether they've gone fetal, whether they've curled up and gone to sleep, whether they've gone and got a job. I don't know. But people that were very proactive just disappeared. So, we all have short memories as business owners.
And that is the trouble, isn't it? There is this whole thing, isn't there, about when I worked in radio, if you lose a listener, to get a delinquent listener back is very, very difficult. Yeah. And it's a bit like getting a new customer all over again, but it'll actually cost you more money if they already know you and they've gone somewhere else. So we've just all got to be aware of that, haven't we? I was going to say we should have a quick look at your website so it shows some of the things that you're up to and what people can do with you. Here is the website here. Just talk us through what we can see on the screen at the moment. Some really good stuff that you're doing. These are from some of the different companies and presentations that you work with, isn't it?
Yeah, just workshops, just different things that, I guess I've got two main kind of programs or products. So, there's a one-to-one work and then international speaking work. So my YouTube channel, like I say, I've gone really big on that this year. That's all free content on there, all short, punchy videos, really. And actually a lot of content is around COVID and the lockdown at the moment. So, and I'm one of the few people in this industry that is very open about their pricing. So my pricing's been on my website since I started. So
you knew that was coming, didn't you? So you prepped everybody for that. So there's the pricing. Yeah.
All my pricing is there. So I always used to think about the jeweler's shop. I'd never want to go into a jeweler's where all the labels are face down, because it just would. I think that I'd feel uncomfortable, as I know I'm going to afford anything if they turn the labels down in the window. I'm not going in there. So
I think the trouble is, but isn't this a problem that many businesses have anyway? Their approach to do a particular piece of work, and then they agonize over how much they're going to charge for it. They know how much it's going to cost them to do, but they're worried that if they charge the going rate, they'll lose the work to somebody who will do it cheaper, because there's going to be a race to the bottom in some industry sectors, isn't there, when this is all finished? Because there will be some businesses that will be desperate to get back out there again. And what they will do, they will undercut anybody and everybody. I was looking at a video production company, beautiful promotional video, lovely voiceover on it. They did the full 9 yards. But the price that they quoted at the end, I don't know how they're affording to be able to do it at that price. They're just hoping that the quantity will come in. But what they will do is they will devalue the industry completely. And that is the big worry, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of been a standard. The race to the bottom with pricing is a standard kind of challenge in business, whether we're in or out of this recession. So the flip of that is to recognise that there may be people that are desperate to start generating income and running at a lower price, but I also think that a lot of our competitors will have quit their businesses, or their businesses just couldn't get to the other side for whatever reason. And so there's going to be a bucket load of orphaned customers waiting to be snapped up. And you should always stay true to your pricing and your structure and how you've pitched yourself. And I use the supermarkets. You can buy a banana in Aldi's for 15p, and you can buy it from Waitrose for 99p. You just need to know which kind of customer you want to buy your bananas and just stay true to that. So like I say, the offset between the pricing war, I think, will come from the fact that there'll be more customers for us to feed on. So like I say, right at the top of the shop, I wouldn't ever, it just doesn't even go in my brain, think of any of these kind of things in a negative way. I just don't entertain it. It offers no value to me at all. So
interesting comment came through here. It says people have shallow pockets and short memories, so make sure that you're adding value. And I suppose that's what it's all about, isn't it? You've got to add that value to what your customer is, what you're supplying to your customer.
And this is this thing around making sure that you're seen at the moment, literally seen at the moment, but being seen to give away value for nothing. So not even an email address. I honestly, just give it away. Post it up onto your feed and say, here's a PDF, just download it. It's got 10 ways in which you can set up a home office with a webcam to get you through 10 tips and tricks. So Angus, I know, was giving away some amazingly good stuff last week on your show on things that you could do. I stole one of those off him and went immediately onto my LinkedIn profile and did it. So there was lots of great value being given away, and that's a classic example of what we can do for nothing. So I posted up into my Facebook groups last week, put your LinkedIn profile below this post and I'll go and give you some kudos. So I did 50, I think, over the course of 2 days. So it doesn't cost me anything and it adds value.
Yeah, really good advice. Thank you very much, Ian, for coming back and agreeing with that. Linda, once again, has been on this. She says, where is the best place to find those customers, do you think? Should we still be going looking for the customers at the moment? Are we going to find them on LinkedIn? Is it going to be on Facebook? Where would you be looking right now? I once said to you, when you were filling the seats on one of your, was it 100 tips for 100 people for 100 quid? One of those ones. And I said to you, so, where's your list? Have you got a list? And you went, no, I do it all on social media. There's no list. And to this day, I repeat that to other people. Do you need a list? And can people be found using social media, or were you just very lucky?
So let me just share with our viewer something that we said off air before we came on. I said, you know what, I have to be really careful what I say, because every now and again some bugger listens. And that was years ago, mate. So, but it's like, I stand by it. I think the question was, have you got any regrets? And it led on to that. And one of my regrets was I let go of my data. But it was about the time that Twitter started to kick in and Facebook was starting to become a thing. And so then I basically used those platforms as my data sets and as my community. And whilst I'm vulnerable to that in as much they could just turn it off, LinkedIn, of course, you can download your community, but Facebook you can't, not I'm aware of. You probably could do it, but in a naughty way, but I don't think you can do it officially.
Move on.
So the long and short to Linda's question is to continue to do what you've always been doing, because your customers haven't changed. So if you have a good idea of your A, B, C's and D's, which is how we do it, what's your grade A, grade B, grade C kind of thing, is that you should, prior to this having happened, have been able to identify where these people are. Just because they were with somebody else that's gone bust or is no longer going to be in business, they are still going to be in the same place that you would have gone seeking them before. So the way I position this at the Big 100 is that every business has a business center, and it's working out where is your business center, and then make sure that all roads lead to your business center. And of course, your ideal prospect is part of that. So,
well, there's the hour. The hour is up. So all I ask you to do now is to do a summary of the hour. Make it as long and as meaty as you possibly can. It's not just a blatant sell. It's to give some core information so that next week when I'm doing this program, we can look back and go, do you know what? He was a talented bloke for an hour, wasn't he? and that's all we're looking for. So, say who you are, take a breath, say who you are, where you're from, and the core takeaways that we need to remember from today's program, if you can, Ian.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Steve. So my name is Ian Dixon. I'm an international business speaker and business performance coach. And for the last 15 years, I've been helping people just like you to become healthier, wealthier, and happier. And if you haven't picked up already, I'm always upbeat and positive. And today we've talked about things you can do from the bunker. And I'll just give you a few literally off the list that hopefully will help you. So find 10 people while we're in lockdown that you know that are going to need the other side of the lockdown. Tell 5 of those people how important they are to you and do whatever you can to support them. The other 5, don't tell them, just do nice things for them so that you can tap into them the other side. Stop selling your stuff and start finding ways in which you can help other people. So whether that be FAQs, how-tos, 10 ways in which, create branded PDFs and just give it away. Don't even ask for an email address. Market to help, not market to sell. I promise you the sales will come. Be consistent with what you do and deliver quality, not quantity. One of the things that I've been seeing is everyone's been trying to race to the front because everyone's trying to race to the front. This isn't toilet roll buying. Actually, just stay true to what you were doing before. Whatever you put out reflects its potential return. So stay consistent with the quantity that you're putting out. Share online. Find ways to share whatever it is, whether it be a product or service. Find ways to share it online. Find ways to share information that helps people now, right now, not in 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months, because we don't know where we're going to be in 9 months' time. What else can I share with you? So networking, online networking, we haven't even talked about that. It's critical that you jump on to one of these online networking platforms. Networking is one of the most important things that you can do anyway, and there is no reason, just because you can't go and share a sausage over breakfast, that you can't go networking. So for networking, I'm going to give them a big plug. They've been very quick to market with an amazing 80 meetings a week. There is no excuse for a $5 that you couldn't go network. There's a big plug for them, but it's important that you continue to network. Oh, Steve, I don't know how many more you want me to do. I could just keep going. There's lots.
Give me 2 more.
2 more, right. So make sure be careful of your filters. So there's fake news is so good. Even good news sources are putting out fake news because they didn't spot it as fake news. There was a lot of fake news around the whole coronavirus when it first started that our nationals were putting out, and actually it was complete poppycock. So and then what else can I give you? Right, so make sure that you are looking far enough down the road so that when you start and it becomes apparent that it is coming back, that you are in the water ready to go. Don't leave it too late, because as quick as it went, it will come back as quick, and you need to be there and ready, because I genuinely think this is going to be an amazing opportunity the other side of the pandemic. I truly believe. I'm not just bigging it up. I truly believe it's going to be a great opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ian Dixon.
Thank you.
A round of applause. Fantastic. It's been a fantastic show. Thank you very much indeed. Really, really, really enjoyed it. It's been a hoot. I think my favourite comment that came in has got to be this one from Janet. I've kept that one sort of waiting once again all the way through the programme as well. So thank you very much, Janet. I'm so not the boss.
I know how Angus felt last week.
Listen, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. That's been a really insightful hour. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. We'll do it again, hopefully in the studio next time. But, have a successful time. Keep in touch. If you want to get in contact with you, obviously all your contact details are sitting on the page on our website at Business Connections Live. If you just want to go there, you'll see there is a show page. You can leave comments about the program. If you've got comments, you can leave them on Facebook. You can leave them on YouTube. You can leave them on LinkedIn. You can leave them all over the place. Also, you'll find the program very shortly up on iTunes as well. What is the best way to contact you if people want to chat or if they want to throw money at you and have a chat?
Well, I'm in trouble if people can't find me. That's part of where I guess I'm at. So I've spent many years trying to get my name on page one of Google. And if you literally on anywhere on the planet, if you type my name and spell it right into Google, you will find me on all over page one. LinkedIn, my own personal website, and Facebook, I'm very strong on all of those. And currently, YouTube is my sort of home of choice. So go check out my YouTube. Just put my name into Google. I guarantee you'll find me.
Ian, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this edition of Business Connections Live. I look forward to us talking again in the near future. Till then, stay safe, and I hope COVID-19 doesn't get you.
You too. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's always a pleasure.
All right, take care.
We'll catch up with you again soon.
My guest today, Ian Dixon, my thanks to him and my thanks to you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the program today. Once again, a really insightful show, giving you lots of really good advice, a lot of good information. Don't forget, if you want to get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live, it is dead easy to do that. We are not shut. We are open for business. It's a different kind of business, but we are there. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can always drop us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. Or if you want, you can pick the phone up and give us a call on 01784 256 777. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. From me, it sounds like the time must be up. Exactly. Till we do it next week at the same time, have yourself a fantastic week and stay safe. From me, Steve Hyland, bye for now.
Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel.